an appointment with. I started with a general practitioner and then moved on to a gynecologist, an ear, nose, and throat specialist, an endocrinologist, and so on. Still, no one could find an answer. Each new doctor would take some tests, prescribe a treatment, and say that it would fix everything. Sometimes it did seem to work for a while, but eventually my symptoms would return, oftentimes worse than before. I spent thousands of dollars on antibiotics to treat ongoing infections over the years, only to be faced with all sorts of side effects and depleted savings. Since my family helped to pay for my endless tests and medical appointments, their bank accounts were drained as well. Fed up with traditional methods, I then tried a whole new tactic. I changed my diet and began ingesting vitamin supplements like candy. If I read somewhere that it might fix one of my many medical complaints, I'd add it to my repertoire. I even tried massage, acupuncture, and chiropractics, hoping that something would ease my suffering. By the time I added up all of the expenses, I had spent enough to have purchased my first home. Yet I remained cooped up in a small apartment because I couldn't afford anything better. Worse still, I was still sick and getting sicker. I tried everything. As my 30th birthday drew near, I knew that I had to take some real action. It was time to get serious and find some answers. That's when I became a real nut about holistic medicine. I made an appointment to see a naturopath, and while he didn't solve my problem, he steered me in a new direction toward a healthier life. It was only while I was seeing the naturopath that I learned that I was suffering from a Candida albicans infection, a systemic yeast infection. There was yeast overload throughout my entire body, and that's why my symptoms were so varied and getting worse. The yeast had started as typical vaginal and sinus infections, which is very common, and then spread throughout my internal system, attacking virtually every organ and tissue it came in contact with. No wonder I felt so sick all of the time. Once I knew what I was up against, I had a new struggle to face, ridding my body of the yeast. My naturopath tried every treatment that he knew of, but while I showed some improvement, I was still suffering. I was not prepared to give up, however, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. In my desperate search for a cure, I wanted to know everything there was to know about Candida infection, how it worked, how it could affect the body's organs, and how to get rid of it. So I started studying hard. I bought every book on dermatology